Xin chào đón quý vị đang bắt đầu theo dõi chương trình Tôi ở Việt Nam. Thưa quý vị, hẳn là trong những tháng đầu năm nay thì chúng ta đã nhìn thấy rất nhiều những thông tin tích cực về thị trường bất động sản Việt Nam. Và cũng tiếp nối với đà hồi phục từ năm ngoái cho đến năm nay thì đã có rất nhiều dự án mới được công bố, cũng như là tình hình mua bán ở thị trường bất động sản cũng khá là sôi động. Thế nhưng cách đây khoảng 6 năm, tức là vào những năm 2010 thì đến giai đoạn năm 2012-2013, đó là một giai đoạn khá là khó khăn với thị trường. Và cũng thật thú vị là vào giai đoạn này thì đã có một người đã quyết định mở đầu hoạt động trong lĩnh vực tư vấn bất động sản tại Việt Nam. Thưa quý vị, hôm nay thì tôi muốn giới thiệu đến quý vị người khách đặc biệt, đó là ông Stephen Wyatt, giám đốc điều hành của hãng tư vấn Jones Lang LaSalle Việt Nam. Well, good morning, Mr. Stephen Wyatt. Welcome to Vietnam and I. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us here in the program. Now, let's talk about the time that you first came to Vietnam. Was it in 2010, right? And was it a downtime of the real estate market, wasn't it?
And we came to Vietnam in June 2010, and almost the moment I stepped off the plane, the property market started to really go down. So it was a very interesting time because Vietnam had experienced a very good few years prior to 2010, and then from 2010 until 2014 we had very, very soft market conditions. So quite a tough time in the early stages of coming to Vietnam.
Was it too risky for the company at that time, and even for yourself, that you have decided to take post in Vietnam at that time?
There were a number of occasions when I thought, is this the right move, and am I in the right country? And you know, for me, for running a business, obviously it's all about trying to get the cycles right and be in the right country at the right time.
Right.
But on reflection, it was actually a very good time to be in Vietnam. And when we were setting up the company, because it was tough market conditions, you have to be very, very careful about setting up the business. And we always knew in the back of our minds, if we get through this period, then we know there's only, there will be good times ahead.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that the company was, was well structured and set up properly, and then we could look forward to hopefully building when the property market came back.
Before Vietnam, you used to work in Africa, right? And before that was Europe. And when you came to Vietnam, did you expect anything at all out of Vietnam?
We had no real idea of what to expect when we first arrived in Vietnam.
I see.
Africa was very, very different. It was quite a big shock when we first arrived and stepped off the plane, and the speed of everything, and the atmosphere, and the noise, and the smells, and everything just hits you. And there's a big sort of sensory sort of overload when you sort of arrive here. So it takes a while to get used to it, but we're in our 6th year in Vietnam now, and we love it. We're very happy.
You used to say in the media that you love the how dynamic this city is. You mean that you like the dynamic of the economy, or the activeness of the people here?
Even though the economy was suffering, the overall enthusiasm of Vietnamese came through. So there's still, it's what we very quickly learned about Vietnamese is it's all about today, and what is in the past is in the past, and it's very much lived for today. And that mentality for us is really refreshing coming from the UK, where we tend to sort of dwell on the past a little bit and sort of worry about the future, but not really concentrate on what's happening today. The Vietnamese spirit and the dynamism of the Vietnamese and the entrepreneurial, ism of Vietnamese is fantastic, and that just seems to be growing and growing, and has certainly grown since we've been here. So I think that's great, and I think it's the work ethic that we have with the people that we have in the office is fantastic.
And you're saying that the feeling of yourself towards Vietnamese people is growing every day, and during the 6-year time until now, how was the impression about the city, about the people, and economically wise?
Because there's that dynamic nature, and people just, I think, generally want to improve, and Vietnamese want to get on. They want to better education and want to improve their living standards and just improve their family life and grow their career. So, and I think that's what we offer at JLL. We can offer that sort of career progression and training, and working for a big global sort of corporate company like ourselves, that there's such a hunger for education and a hunger to learn. That's very, very important.
Well, and you are working at JLL now, a very big corporation in the real estate markets, and people always come to you to ask for your views on the markets, and we would like to find out more about that when Vietnam and I return. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kính thưa quý vị, chúng tôi vẫn đang trò chuyện với ông Stephen Wyatt về cuộc sống cũng như công việc của ông tại Việt Nam, và chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục chương trình Tôi Việt Nam trong phần tiếp theo. Xin mời quý vị đừng rời màn hình. Chào mừng quý vị đang quay trở lại với chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam trên kênh FBNC, và chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục trò chuyện ngay sau đây với ông Stephen Wyatt, là giám đốc vùng của công ty Jones La Việt Nam. Welcome back to the show again, Mr. Stephen. So during the time that you work here in Vietnam, what do you like most?
First of all, I think the people, I think as I mentioned previously, are fantastic, and we have a great set of people and working in Jones Lang LaSalle. So I think people make living in a country very special, and very it makes life much easier when the people are very friendly and very open and very willing to learn. So the food, I do like Vietnamese food, and are very, very partial to banh mi and maybe pho and some of the other Vietnamese food. So I think generally living standards here for expat is actually very easy compared to some of our friends, our other expat friends in maybe some of the other Southeast Asian cities like Bangkok or Jakarta or Manila. Ho Chi Minh is much easier to live. Generally the traffic in the other Southeast Asian cities is very, very poor. And it takes a long time to get around the city, and you can be stuck in traffic for a very long time. So here at the moment the traffic still moves fairly freely, and you can get to meetings quite quickly, and it's a very enjoyable place.
But in the other hand, have you ever feel fed up at all with anything that would make you feel regret coming here?
Yes, I think there's days when I can go home from the office and feel very, very frustrated, and I will go home to my wife and say, this I can't take,
Okay.
You can have a really, really good day one day, and then the next day is really, really bad, and there's no logic or no reason why it happens, but you can go through these very
quick,
very emotional sort of roller coaster. From a Western point of view, doing business, sometimes it's difficult to understand the logic of doing business, and it takes a lot of time to understand how Vietnamese, the mindset of a lot of Vietnamese work. So I think once you understand, and having been here for 6 years, I'm starting to slowly understand how some things work. Yes, I think the answer to your question is yes.
Yes.
There's days where I can be very, very frustrated, and we do, you wonder what you're doing here, but then the next day or maybe the next week, everything can be very, very good, and you win new work, and it's all forgotten.
Talk a little bit about the markets. Could you say that, of course, there are a lot of differences between the real estate market in Vietnam and compared to those in other countries. So what do you see are the main differences?
Vietnam is still very early stages of its sort of property market. So we only really saw the beginnings of the property market established in 1990. So we have 26 years of a property market in Vietnam. So compared to the UK, which is where I'm from, that's been developing property for hundreds of years, it's obviously a very new and immature sort of property market. So that creates problems in itself because of lack of legislation. The legal system is still trying to understand a lot of the intricacies of the property market, and so we still have a long way to go to improve the property market and the legal system and how business is carried out in property. And again, compared to the UK, there's a lot of legislation around protecting landlords and protecting tenants and how you carry out business and how businesses like ourselves, how we conduct ourselves and carry out, business in a very professional manner. So all of those things will come to Vietnam, but in the future, and that will come as the market matures over time. So at the moment it's a very open market and everyone does everything, and that's one of the frustrations, is there's lots of different people doing lots of different things, and no one really, there's no sort of structure to it.
It started to have more activities compared to a couple of years before. So do you agree, and do you think that the market is started to move now?
The market is much more active than it was 2 years ago. So we've seen since the end of 2014 a real increase in activity, and generally confidence has improved, sentiment I think has generally improved, and the economy's improved most importantly. So and the evidence is there for everyone to see. So we're seeing a lot of development activity at the moment. We're seeing a lot of residential sales transactions happening, probably record levels in Q1 of 2016. So our concern in the background is that there's still, the banking sector needs to be restructured, and there's still a lot of non-performing loans in the banking structure that haven't been restructured from the last cycle. So we're in a situation where a lot of non-performing loans have been put into the FBNC, and they still need to be sorted out, and that hasn't been done as yet. So, but overall, the general feel is much more positive. Like I say, foreign investors are very active in Vietnam at the moment because they see an opportunity, and I think the government has been very, very vocal and is really willing to work with more foreign investment in Vietnam, which I think is good, and I think will help to grow the economy even further.
Which segments of the real estate market that you see the most potential?
There's a number of different sectors. I mean, one sector which is getting a lot of attention is the industrial manufacturing sector, both from a development point of view and from an occupier point of view. So all the trade agreements that have been signed off recently, the EU and the Korean and the ASEAN, and these trade agreements are really having an impact on the manufacturing and logistics sector. So that is one sector we expect to continue to improve over the next 5 to 10 years and beyond, because Vietnam now will be quite a critical sort of hub in Southeast Asia, and we're getting a lot of companies looking to relocate from China because the costs in China have grown. In addition to that, you will have seen recently about the acquisition of Big C by Central Group, and I think again the retail sector has lots of potential for growth as the Vietnamese, their disposable income increases and middle income class grows. We will see a lot of interest into the retail sector. I think overall the government's actually doing quite a good job, and they are bringing in new legislation and new decrees on a fairly regular basis. As an example, the relaxation of the foreign ownership legislation that came in on the 1st of July last year, that has been very positive for the market, and to be honest, much more positive than I expected. We've seen an increase in the number of foreign investors that are buying residential apartments in Vietnam. That number so in the first 5 years of the pilot program, it was maybe only 150 to 200 people. But since the 1st of July last year, over 1,000 people have bought apartments, foreigners have bought apartments. There's still a long way to go. And I think just the procedure for foreign investment in Vietnam and going through, to set up a company in Vietnam and getting your necessary licenses in place is still a very arduous process. It takes a long time to go through that process. So that needs to be shortened. And I think that will happen. And I think, again, new decrees are coming out. But what we find is when the government brings out a new decree, it takes a long time to filter down through the system. And actually, the administration of working through setting up a new business actually takes a lot longer than what I think the government would like. So,
as an expert working in Vietnam, we would like to know how you adapt to life here in Vietnam, and we just take a little short break here and the show will return. Thank you. Thưa quý vị, trong phần tiếp theo của chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam ngày hôm nay, chúng tôi sẽ tìm hiểu nhiều hơn về cuộc sống thường nhật của vị khách mời, đó là ông Stephen Wyatt, giám đốc Jones Lang LaSalle Việt Nam. Xin mời quý vị tiếp tục giữ màn hình. Tôi xin mời quý vị tiếp tục theo dõi chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam, và chúng tôi đang tìm hiểu cuộc sống thường nhật của vị khách mời là ông Stephen Wyatt đến từ công ty Jones Lang LaSalle Việt Nam. Welcome back again, Mr. Stephen Wyatt. So you came to Vietnam with your family or just by yourself first?
With my family. So I have a wife, Olivia, and 2 girls.
It was quite a shock for you and your family when you first came. Share with us a little bit about that. How did you go through that period of time?
Well, I think, it's always interesting arriving in a new country that you've never been before, and then just understanding how everything works and where everything is, just the supermarkets and the hospitals and trying to just get your bearings in the city and just try to work out how things generally work. And obviously everything is in a different language, so that poses its own set of problems, but most Vietnamese now speak English, which is lucky for us. So when we arrived, it was just myself and my wife, so we didn't have children at the time, so both our children were born here. So their life, so they're very young, they're only 3 and 2 years old. So they have only known Vietnam, so they've been born and raised in Vietnam. So they do know Vietnamese, or a little bit of Vietnamese. They can count in Vietnamese and sing in Vietnamese now.
Wow.
So they're amazing, and it's amazing to come home every night and see them. I try and, if I can, I try and get home to see them in the evening before they go to bed, and we read a story together, and it's a very, very special time. So, and I think that's important. We try and get the right balance between work and family time.
Did you find any difficulties working with your colleagues? I mean, Vietnamese colleagues.
I think there's always challenges with managing a business. I mean, what we try and do at JLL, it's a very structured business. So everyone has their what we call IPMP, which is their professional sort of management program. So everyone knows their job description and their targets and their KPIs, and everyone is reviewed on a very regular basis. So it's a very structured way of doing business. One of the biggest challenges of managing a business is obviously dealing with people and with HR issues, and trying to keep people motivated and happy, but also trying to get the best out of them as well. We know we're in a business, we need to make money.
Well, speaking with you, I can feel that you are a very warm person, and from your colleagues, I know that you are a very gentle person as well. You never yell at anyone. Is that true?
My appearance is perhaps a little bit laid back. I tend to be on one level most of the time, and that's just I think partly through training, but partly through my sort of persona as well. So, and I think people generally respect that. So I don't tend to shout. I don't feel the need that I have to shout. But there has been occasions when I do certainly find it necessary to take someone aside and say, this is actually not acceptable, if in the right situations.
Okay.
But I think shouting is a little bit old, is a very old traditional way of dealing with punishment. I don't think it's necessary. But I think what we try and encourage at JLL is that very much it's a team effort, and it's a team environment. So we try and encourage, even though people are in different departments, to always be trying to what we call cross-sell. So if you're in one department, you're trying to help out, you're trying to win business for another department. So that team environment and working as one, everyone's working for JLL, so you're always trying to build business and win new business for the company, even if it doesn't necessarily affect you. It's just,
So your plan for a couple of years ahead, you still staying here in Vietnam, or you have planned to move to work in other countries?
No, the plan is, very much to continue to build the business in Vietnam. We are, from a business point of view, we're in a growth phase at the moment. So we are recruiting a number of people. We're growing into new areas and new markets. So from a regional point of view, Vietnam is very much in focus, and we currently have approximately 200 people in the business, and we look to grow that quite considerably over the next 2 years.
Do you plan to buy a house here?
I think we're considering buying in Vietnam. We spend money on rent every month, so if we buy somewhere and we don't have to pay rent, we have to pay, and we're paying off a mortgage for ourselves. So
just to wrap up our discussion today, well, of course you like food, Vietnamese food. You say phở and bánh mì, right? And how about traffic? How about anything that you dislike living here?
Dislike, I think, what would I dislike? I think that the flooding this time of year can be very challenging.
Yes.
And I think that's the same for everyone. I don't think that's just me. For us, we always feel if we go out to a restaurant and some of the hotels as well, I feel that there's still a lot of the pricing for some of the restaurants here compared to the actual quality that you get can be quite disappointing.
So it's a bit overpriced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
compared to, I don't mind paying. When you go out, you want to have a great experience. You want something better than you can actually cook at home. Is my theory. I don't want to go out and just sort of get the same as what I can do at home. And my cooking's not very good, so. But when you go out and you get a meal that's not very good, and then you get charged quite a lot of money for it as well, and the service is not particularly great, that can be quite frustrating from my point of view. And the same with hotels as well. I think, you know, that generally hotels here still need to improve quite significantly. When, you know, there needs to be, I think, more supply coming, more opportunities, more competition. I think will be actually quite good, and that will help to sort of lower the rates down, because compared to sort of Bangkok and some of the other Southeast Asian countries, it's still very expensive here for hotel rooms.
Well, and actually it's good that you have to spend some time to think about what you dislike. Actually, I like that. But of course, living here in a different countries than the home country, of course, you must encounter a lot of difficulties. But you plan to stay here, so I would like to take this opportunity to wish you a lot of success, and of course your family as well, a lot of fun, and you will continue to enjoy Vietnam and life here. Thank you very much, Stephen, again for coming to our show today. Thank you. Thưa quý vị, chúng tôi vừa trải qua 30 phút trò chuyện với ông Stephen Wyatt, là giám đốc của Jones Lang LaSalle Việt Nam, và cũng hy vọng rằng quý vị cũng đã có được những phút giây thoải mái để tìm hiểu về cá nhân của ông Stephen Wyatt, người từ Anh đã đến Việt Nam làm việc và sinh sống ở đây 6 năm qua. Đến đây thì chương trình Tôi Việt Nam cũng xin được kết thúc. Cảm ơn quý vị đã quan tâm theo dõi và xin hẹn gặp lại. Thank you.
Cảm ơn. Thank you.